Welcome to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Laurie Rivers, your host. I'm here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world. And this week, I asked my very dear magical friend, Seth Sapphire, to join me to talk about energy work, crystal grid healing, and the amazing magical candles he makes himself by hand every step of the way. Seth and I have known each other since I lived in Sedona in 2018, and it's a long story, and I'm not going to go into it, but I have always felt very blessed by knowing him, meeting him, and kind of adopting him into my life. You know me, I'm Astro Mama, right? All of us have our own unique blend of magic. Our very essence is magical. You really are magical. And I think a lot of times people seek outside of themselves to find it. You're looking for that magic bullet. You're looking for that one bit of knowledge to help move you forward. You're looking for the keys to the universe, but they're inside you. And modalities and methods can help jostle memories, can help give you a structure to work with your own special magic. But at the end of the day, people put way too much emphasis on what things are called versus how things are done inside of them, inside of you. And now that Venus is retrograde in Leo, it's time to go back a little bit. It's time to review a little bit. It's time to go into your heart space and ask yourself, where have you been asking for your value to be assigned by outside agencies, whether it's a belief system or a religion or a magical process? And I know everybody wants the magic. I get it. I used to too. And the biggest lesson you're going to learn is, regardless of the tools that you do use, it's all to do with the energetical resonance from within you. You co-create the message that comes to you. You co-create the signs that show up from your guidance. You co-create your experience with the cards or the crystals, even Seth's candles. As he says, he's there to deliver to those who are in alignment to receive. And that's a very important concept to understand. And the easiest way to be in alignment, which just means to be lined up, just like your tires in a car, right? Your tires are aligned or they're out of alignment. And then you go to the tire shop, and they align your tires, right? We align ourselves over and over and over again. And doing grounding techniques is one of the best ways to keep yourself aligned as long as possible. Don't judge yourself for being out of alignment. If you're grouchy or grumpy, you might be in alignment with the mood of the day. If you want to be deliberately in alignment with your core essence, then it takes some time and some practice. And remember, no matter how long you've studied, no matter what you've studied, what energy you practice, you're still going to have days that you pop in and out, because we're in human bodies. So we're going to talk about that because Mars is in Virgo right now. And this is a great opportunity to recalibrate and get specific about how you operate in the world, how you take action wherever Mars is falling in your chart. And remember, I have YouTube videos that help you understand your birth chart and the difference between a transit and a natal placement. Those are all up on the YouTube channel. So make sure you go watch those for a touch up and some clarity. Astrology is a very complex field of study, and I know it's really popular right now, and everybody and their mother is talking about it, whether they're a qualified astrologer or not. And it can be confusing, but it's not enough to know the terms. If you really want to dig down deep and find your inner magic, you need to know how to use the energy that you have. And that's what I love to teach. So I'll be talking about that on episode 32, as well as having a wonderful conversation with my friend Seth. As always, I'm going to be giving shout outs to the patrons that promote and support this podcast. And I'll be answering the Q&A. So the astrology Q&A. But first, let's talk a little bit more about magic. I think a lot of times when we think about magic, we think about mechanical magic. We think about potions and spells and candles, and all of those things are wonderful tools when you know what you're doing. And yet we forget that we are water inside of our bodies. We are minerals, which are crystalline structures. And we have all the components within our human body to create amazing amounts of magic. We conduct energy. We conduct electricity. That's a pretty magical thing. And our planet, the more science starts looking at it, the more it really does see what indigenous people have said all along, and we're all connected. The animals, the plants, the rocks, the streams, the oceans, the sky are our brothers and our sisters, our father and our mother. And we are a magical component of that. And as we go about this week, which may have some very intense moments as humans do what humans do, which can be create conflict and drama and upset, each of us has the ability to influence the collective in a small way. One of my mentors, Thomas C. Chavez, was instrumental in helping me understand that every time I took a step forward in my healing journey, in my spiritual journey, I helped move hundreds of thousands of people forward. People who were genetically related to me, people I didn't know, but from a telegenetic standpoint, knowing that when we hold trauma in our bodies and we heal it, it really does impact people who are genetically connected. Think of it as quantum entanglement. And that's not a reason to heal. It's just a nice side benefit to know. And you may not see the evidence in the people you know that you're related to. They may not show a change in consciousness, but it's enough to know that a pattern is on the shift, on the move. And we're related to a lot more people than we think we are. And then when we get into the energy of it and the potentials of all the different realities that could be, all the different dimensions, all the different realities, the possibilities and the probabilities, when we can look into that and know that when we can stay grounded for a moment, just a moment, when we can take a breath instead of reacting, when we can take a pause instead of speaking, we have a massive impact on the world and the collective consciousness. Because at the end of the day, you boil us all the way back, we're all related. We might not shift ourselves very hard to the left or to the right or up or down, but we can shift ourselves and the collective just enough to avoid a worst case scenario. And I think we've done that over and over and over again, especially in the last 70 years. The point of being a spiritual being, having a human experience, isn't to achieve perfection. And that might be top of mind with Mars transiting Virgo right now. But the highest level of Virgo expression is about refinement, polishing things up, looking for the minutia to rework, rewire, edit. You don't need to be negative about yourself. That doesn't give you any brownie points. You don't need to be self-depreciating. What you can do is take account actively take account of how far you've come. Even if you've made it from -20 to -10, that's an accomplishment. When we can take a deep breath and really feel into the body, when we can bring the noise down that's going off in our head, the worry, looking at the schedule, the mind running on hamster wheels, the over attachment to the labels, the diagnoses. When we own these things, they stick to us like glue. You'll hear Seth and I talk about entities and clearing energy when we get to the interview segment. But thoughts, practice thoughts, become very weighted and very magnetic. And now that we have Venus retrograde, it is a wonderful opportunity to allow ourselves to get grounded, take real account about things that are right and true and good and positive about ourselves in a very real way, to help release those old thought habits that can almost have a life of their own. So here's one trick. If you have a diagnosis of some kind, maybe it's vision like mine, right? It doesn't help me to say I'm blind. It's more useful to me to say I have low vision. One is possessing it. I'm me. I am. The other is stating it's a condition. It's just something that is. I'm not possessing it. I am not possessed by it. So if you have something like ADHD, instead of saying my or I'm, I have versus I am, or my trauma. In fact, it was Thomas C. Chavez, my mentor, that taught me that too. I would talk about the trauma as if I owned it. It was a great part of my identity because I so identified with being a survivor. This is 20 years ago. And he said, what if you made a little adjustment, Laurie? What if you just changed my to the? Feel the difference in the energy. And I did. He wasn't telling me to deny what happened or get over it. He was just saying, don't own it. Don't let it own you. Why? Oh, makes healing harder. Makes healing harder because if you own it, it's like a part of your arm or part of your nose. With Mars in Virgo, we have this amazing opportunity to heal ourselves. And with Saturn in Pisces retrograde, we have the ability to gently restructure, like noodling something. You noodle it. Noodle your healing. Noodle the structure. You don't have to dive into the depths here. It's making small adjustments, little tweaks here and there, little touch-ups, little refinements, and taking account of what you do well. And you say, Laurie, I don't know what I do well. I don't see what magic I have that you're talking about. No, I could look at your astrology chart and show you your own personal magic. Everybody's a manifester, and everybody manifests in their own way, and you do it every single day of your life, every single year of your life. What most people are talking about in manifestation is deliberate creation, deliberate manifestation. We do things on the fly and coincidentally all the time because we haven't started to train ourselves to stop and not let our thoughts think us. We shape our reality through our perceptions. Doesn't mean we attract the things that we don't want on purpose. We don't ask for the bad things that happen to us. But we have thousands of years as a species of being used to traumatic events, to being used to dominance and control, to being used to hierarchy and patriarchy. And so those are practiced thought habits. It doesn't mean we make it happen. It means that's the frequency We're tuned to receiving. And just like a radio or your Pandora or your Spotify, you can change the channel. It takes time. Because if you have, just like on a pre-programmed radio, if you've got every button programmed to go to the same station, well, you can't just push another button. You have to reprogram the button, right? This isn't about toxic positivity. It's about getting really realistic and grounded. So now if you're driving and if I'm your co-pilot today, I want you to wait and re-listen to this segment and not do this, because I want you to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. I'll help you get perfect parking again, I promise. If you're at work, make sure that you don't have to focus on a task at hand, because I want you to feel into your body and do it gently. Okay. And only do as much as feels comfortable in the moment. Sometimes that can be an uncomfortable thing when you're not used to it, right? When you're used to just being up in your head. If you're folding towels, you might want to put the towels down. And if you've just had some coffee, maybe you need to go to the restroom first. You could put us on pause. So I want you to sit up as straight as you can and put your hand right on your diaphragm, right here, right under the ribs. Relax your shoulders and take a deep inhale through your nose if you can. If you have trouble breathing through your nose, that's okay. You can breathe through your mouth. All right. Take a deep breath in and exhale. You want to feel your belly moving out from your hand. Let your belly push your hand out while you're doing the inhale. We're going to do one more practice breath in through the nose and an exhale. If you've got a lot of tension, I like to do this one where I take a deep inhale, and on the exhale, I make a little bit of noise. Ha! You can even shake your head. Okay, like I said, don't do this while you're driving. Once you've felt maybe a little bit more circulation going, okay, put your hand back on your belly, just under your ribs. Take another deep breath inside. Just and if you feel calm after this third breath, we'll take the next step. If you're still a little on edge, do it 2 or 3 more times. Just a deep inhale in, exhale out. Feel the energy from the top of your head moving all the way down through your body, all the way down to your toes. I want you to wiggle your toes. Put your attention there. Wiggle those toes. Inhale. Keep wiggling. Exhale. Your mind should be a little more quiet as you inhale and bring your energy all the way down to those wiggly toes. Might seem a little bit silly. It's not very ritualistic, is it? It's not very pomp and circumstance and doesn't seem very holy. But you are. You are a divine slice of creation. Each one of us is. And we start by grounding to feel the magic. Your hands might be a little buzzy. Your feet might be a little buzzy. Bring yourself all the way in. And you might have an emotional release. Maybe you feel like crying a little bit. That's okay. Like I said, don't do this while you're driving. Skip forward. The most important thing you can do over the next week or so, as we approach the full moon August 1st, is to ground as often as possible. Don't think you have to be grounded once and it's done. That's not how it works. Sometimes we have to do it a couple times an hour. It's about bringing your consciousness inside of you where it belongs, not outside, butting up against the world. Do your best to stay away from the outrage machine. There's going to be a lot of drama this week. We might even see conflicts brew and border clashes happen. There might be alliances and negotiations fail out in the world. It might even look like there's a war starting, even more so than we thought there would be. It's all a design to keep us afraid. And when we're in fear, we can't make good decisions. We can't control the circumstances that happen in life. What we can control is how we navigate through them. And that's why I like to say, I help you surf the cosmic tide. Sometimes that tide is like a tsunami. And it will be a very interesting week this week. But instead of giving you all the details, and if you're in the Patreon, then you already have the headlines and what I think might happen this week. And I talk about it in the Crunch Report. But I don't see a point to feeding the worry, the fear, and the doubt. I'd rather you be grounded and able to make the very best decisions you can in any single moment. And that is the essence of magic. There isn't a practitioner in the world. There isn't a teacher in the world who hasn't walked through the depths of hell and out the other side. And it doesn't even stop once we become teachers. We still have sorrows and troubles. And we know this too shall pass. It's all about perspective. Don't judge yourself so harshly. It doesn't matter if someone said you were too enthusiastic or not enough, that maybe you didn't have what it takes for whatever it is you want to do. Somebody else's judgment isn't what is at hand at the moment. Taking real account of what's good about you. Maybe you don't know enough about something right now to be able to do it well, but you're able to learn. Maybe you don't learn as fast as other people, but you still can learn. A nice way to tell yourself something more positive instead of, well, I'm slow, is takes me a little more time to learn, but once I learn it, it's in my noggin forever. We want to reframe those thoughts, tweak those thoughts this week as Mars moves forward in Virgo. It'll be really important by the 28th, because if you can even make a little progress over the next couple of days, it's almost like you'll have your own little bit of armor when it comes to other people's opinions, when it comes to groupthink that doesn't fit with who you are and how you do things in the world. Magic starts with you. Everything else is simply a tool that you align with. And it doesn't mean that crystals don't conduct energy. They do. It doesn't mean that there isn't wisdom to be found in oracles. There is. But your perceptions shape your reality. And the more you understand you are the magic and you're co-creating an experience, the more powerful and more productive the experiences you have. For example, I'm not making anything happen here for you. You are co-creating this with me. You're the one who chose to listen to this podcast at this moment. Maybe it's even your own desire to understand your own internal magic that helped inspire me to speak on it. We co-create life. And if you want to be a great co-creator, you have to understand your part in the creating. And that's what we do at the Mystery School in the Patreon. There'll be more woo-woo stuff coming out soon. Maybe even a little defense against the dark arts, although I can't call it that because that's copywritten, but a little more protective. And some of the most protective magic I know is love, loving yourself, understanding that you matter, you have value. You don't find that from the outside in. That's an inside job. Now, if you need some mechanical help, well, personally, I like to use Seth's candles. So, but first, let's do some patron shout outs. Then we'll talk to Seth and I'll answer your astrology questions here on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. Oh, it's my favorite part of the show. We've got time for patrons. Thank you, patrons. Without you, there is no me. So we're giving a big shout out to Patricia, Erin, Jesse, Cheyenne, Crystal, Allie, Beth, Louisa, Alyssa, Paola, Superplin, Irene, Andrea, Prithi, Judith, David, Jennifer, Lindsay, Anna, Shayna, Marie, Letitia. I think it's Letitia. Safia, Lauren, Jennifer, Anna, Imelda, Erica, Geroid, Latrell, Jerry, James, and Taryn. Thank you all so very much for being patrons. Thank you all so very much. Oh, the cards showed up. I think it's time for a sneak peek. The Call of Gaia. Now, the card deck is going to change up just a little bit from the prototype, but I am very proud to present to you the Call of Gaia. So I'm going to give you a really quick tour of the deck, and then I will be moving on to talking about Seth Sapphire. I'm going to give you a really quick tour of the deck, and then we're going to talk with Seth Sapphire about crystals, crystal grid technology, and his magical ethically sourced beeswax candles that are truly handcrafted from the beginning to the end. It's here, the Call of Gaia. This is a metaphysical approach to astrology. This is esoteric astrology explaining how all of the various great lives, the planets, contributed a little bit of their energy, and the signs contributed their energy in this beautiful mix that became you, your physical self. And I think I'm not going to take up too much time before we talk to Seth, but here are the cards. I think I'll talk about these as we go to the Astrology Q&A. So if you want to know more, you know I'm a mystic mama, and this is one of my magical friends. So welcome, Seth Sapphire. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much.
Well, you're one of my favorite people. How can I not have you here? Right? So now you do crystal grid healing and you create crystal grid candles. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like what drew you to working with crystals?
Got you. All right, so nothing technically drew me into working with crystals. I was born completely awake from the get-go. And right from the start, I just started communicating, connecting with the crystal energies since right out of the hatch, basically. And throughout my entire life, I've just put all my love, energy, and intentions into mastering and continuing to grow my gifts and skill sets with my crystal friends. Hey, what's up?
Right? Absolutely. And that's something I love that Seth always says about the crystals. They are indeed his crystal friends. And when you started doing like grids and grid work, was it just on impulse, or was it something you wanted to do to help people in their process? Was it a little bit of all of it? What was up with that?
It was all started by just flow. I'm an active channel.
Mm-hmm.
The energies that I
Mm-hmm.
channel just come through me, and literally I have the crystals,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just here, but then just everything just shifts, and I start moving all the crystals around to create different effects. Um,
Okay.
Back in the day, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just playing with my
Right. You were
crystal
just
friends,
doing it.
seeing what
Right. Yeah.
happens.
Right. I get that. Yeah. When you finally have names for what things are, it's like, oh, that's what that is that I do. Right.
Right? So much
Mm-hmm.
easier. Ooh, I
Mm-hmm.
want you
It
to
is
be right
completely.
there. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's a brilliant friend. Now, in your experience, because I think a lot of times people think bigger is bigger, but in your experience, is bigger in size bigger, or can big come from something small?
Oh, well, size means nothing
Mm-hmm.
because something
All
can
the guys say
literally,
that.
as I have the
I'm
huge one
teasing
right
you.
in front of me.
Right. For those of you listening,
Just
for
keep
those
it
of you
real.
listening, for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube, Seth has a giant that's a white quartz, yeah?
It's
Clear
actually a
quartz.
Lemurian twin quartz.
There we go. Lumerian twin quartz, and it's a giant point. So,
Yeah.
but when I say Seth and I are friends, I mean we talk about drug, sex, rock and roll. So we're those kinds of friends. So you've got
Real
your
people
giant
talk.
crystal friend there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and size does not make a difference with crystals,
No,
right?
size.
Okay.
So, okay, so there it's more complicated than that. There's a whole sliding scale of things.
Mm-hmm.
May I share about how what makes a crystal powerful and what doesn't? Okay,
Yes. Oh,
cool.
please do,
Got you.
Seth. Seriously, people want to know this stuff, so go for it.
Definitely, my pleasure. I'm all about this shit. So crystals. Think of crystals just like a person. Okay, you don't look at a person, and by looking at a person, you don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know what experiences that they've had that make them who they are. You don't know who they are. You don't know what's inside. You're just
Mm-hmm.
seeing from
Mm-hmm.
your perspective from the outside. Same thing goes
Mm-hmm.
with crystals, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because the power of a crystal depends on so many factors. One is well, there's contradictions too as well. So one thing we say is a crystal that can look busted, cruddy, just like garbage. Sometimes those crystals are the most freaking powerful
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because in that case, it's not technically about the physical structure of the crystal. It's that the crystal is a vessel holding
Mm-hmm.
something way more powerful. I got that out of the way. Now we're gonna go to more usable terms. So, what makes a crystal powerful is number one is the energy that flows through it, and from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one
Mm-hmm.
thing. Another factor with crystals that can make them very powerful can be its physical structure, its quality. For example,
Mm-hmm.
hold on one second, I'm gonna get some crystal frames to show y'all. Yep.
And just for the listeners at home. So again, I was living in Sedona, and long story short, kind of I told Seth, "Come with me. Let's go play." Recognized a kindred soul there. By the way, Seth gives the very best heart hugs in the world, forever and ever. Um,
Deal.
and go goof off and find crystals and all kinds of things, didn't we? So you've got your crystal friends. Let's see what you've got.
Okie doke. So I have here a low-grade pink tourmaline. You know what? Hang tight. I'm going to get a flashlight. I'll be right back. Okay, is that cool?
Okay, that's fine, Seth. I'll keep us going. So
Actually, yeah, perfect.
Okay, so when we are magical beings, and we all are, all of you are, some of us were born awake. Other people had moments of catalytic moments where you had an awakening, but you might have always done a little bit of energy work or had resonance. Maybe it was with plants. Maybe it was with crystals. Maybe you always looked at the stars. Maybe you always had what a lot of times people call healing hands, where your hands would warm up if somebody wasn't feeling well, or you'd feel the tingles in them. And so sometimes we collide and we get to meet up with people, and Seth is one of those people. We're going to talk more about his candles here in a minute, but first he's going to show us. And again, so if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you go to the YouTube link. I've got it in the show notes, and you can see some of what Seth is going to show us here. So go ahead, Seth. I was just...
Right, so this is a medium to low quality. So that crystal is here. Now this is a gem quality pink tourmaline.
Gemologist on top of it. So,
oh yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So see how it's hard to see in light, but it's gemmy. You can see right through it.
It is indeed gemmy.
One factor that can contribute to a crystal's power level is its physical quality. The higher quality of a crystal leads to a higher amount of energy within it. Same thing, because everything is energy, and energy, similar to the crystals, how one crystal that's not as good looking, that's kind of have an off structure, has less strengthening. So those physical to energy mechanics of what makes a crystal strong.
Ooh, definitely. Fascinating. I love talking to you about this. So
thank you.
Let's say if you're going to go pick out a crystal, and what if you're called, because you know how like sometimes our crystal friends pick us, right?
Yes.
If you're called to something that's maybe a little rougher or milkier, what might be a reason for that? Like if you could think of 3 things off the top of your head, why, if...
Gotcha.
Go ahead, explain to Lucy.
Okay. So think of it like this. If, let's say, a milkier, lower quality crystal claims that you're receptive enough to receive this amount of energy. So let's say 1 milligram, 0 milligram is nothing, 100 milligram is max. Let's say this milky one has basically, say, 25 milligrams of pink tourmaline energy. And this one, whatever crystal you're called to, or that calls to you, that just means that you are energetically receptive to receive that energy and work with that. So your intuition, your gut, that energy will never steer you wrong, because it's the one thing that will guide you and save your butt. That's for sure.
Right? It totally saves your butt. You are right. You are right. So that would explain, like back in the day, like when they had the priest had their breastplate, or certain traditions had ceremonial neck pieces or head pieces, that there were certain cuts that they would use. So it wasn't just about status, it was about resonance associated with those gems then, right?
Absolutely. I'll give you examples. Crowns, for example. Like say the royal crowns. And diamonds are one of the most powerful crystals, believe it or not, for all the conscious realms. It literally opens up your third eye. It also can open up all of the chakras. There are infinite amount of chakras literally above our heads, because we'll get that. So by putting these massive, powerful, energetic receptors to one's individual's brain that connect.
Cool.
What I got going on here, this is a showstopper here. This is white.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah.
English, right? There you go.
That's
this
very beautiful.
Is a tourmaline crystal. It's red tourmaline, and then it has purple tourmaline on the bottom.
It's stunning. It's got that deep purple amethysty deep depth of that's really beautiful.
Definitely. So red tourmaline assists in tourmaline is all about the higher dimensions of energy. So by working with this crystal that they're physically connected as one, the red
I see where you're going with this.
assists in grounding down all that powerful purple tourmaline magic into physical reality for one to play with.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah.
Party.
When I can visit, I'll bring it for sure.
Oh, cool.
This is actually the most expensive and rarest crystal in my collection currently. It is a full color change, rough alexandrite flower. Alexandrites are a very powerful variety of chrysoberyl, and they change light. They change color due to different directional wavelengths of light, because it's basically an X, Y, and Z axis. So here, I'll show you. This one, I'm not used to doing this like this. So you see how it literally looks? It's greenish.
Oh, okay. There's a little green sheen kind of popping up on camera.
So now I'm going to put
There's a little purple too. Move it up just a little bit. Oh, almost. Nope.
I have to 1 second.
It's all right. We're navigating this thing together. It's okay. Almost. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure that. Not quite. What are you seeing? Describe it to us.
Basically, this is the most expensive crystal that I own. And this crystal, chakra, the throat, and the mind. This is a stone every fucking dude needs in the world. I mean, this crystal about that. Every guy needs this crystal. It literally opens, clears, activates, aligns, and links the heart, the third eye, the crown, and the throat chakras all as one. Allowing you to express and feel from your heart and truly receive.
I love that.
I get a little excited.
So that's all right. Enthusiasm is a good thing. You don't want people who are practicing who are just kind of blasé. Plus, Seth is like the ultra fire guy, so lots of fire in this fella here. So when you make the crystal grid, you make it into geometric shapes.
So, yes. So let me explain actually what a crystal grid is now, because
yes, please
do. What I have now, I'm going to explain what it is. So, take a break, dude. So, using every single crystal has its own special, unique, energetic, and magical property and benefit that we can utilize to change our reality, our lives. Now, this crystal just has the energy of milky pink tourmaline. So with working with one crystal, you're just working with the energies of that crystal. So this is a strawberry, which is pink tourmaline. This is a watermelon, which is watermelon tourmaline.
So we're having a crystal fruit salad.
Correct. Because when you literally work with the individual crystal, you're just working with the energies. But when you're in those different energies, those crystals, to create a different outcome.
Now, when I met you, you were not yet making the crystal grid candles. That was an idea kind of percolating. We've been on this adventure with each other since 2018. Wow.
I'm very happy about
It's been, oh my gosh, yes. So I've helped Seth come up with ideas for these, and I love these candles. Not only is it ethically sourced, beautifully loved beeswax, so it's And you can tell the difference between the smell, but also the vibe. You know it's ethically sourced. That's very important to Seth. They feel good. These candles feel good. Sometimes I just hang on to them for a little bit and resonate, chill out with them, and smell them, because you don't just like put a fragrance in. You collect botanicals and distill them, the essence of that. Talk about your
Right. Yeah.
candles a little bit.
Sure. Actually, I'll grab one.
Good.
They're actually right here. Do do
Mm.
do 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 do. All right. So
Oh, you got my favorite.
protect your heart.
Protect your heart, but the other one, cool calm, too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Protect your heart is my favorite energetically, and cool calm is my favorite visually.
Bees pick up the crystal charged nectar and pollen from the flowers from my crystals, bringing back to the net the hive. I almost said nest. That's funny. The hive, and then creates that really powerful crystal infused charged honey and beeswax that I use for the
Wonderful.
candles. So it's a
Beautiful.
whole. It's just a lot going on besides just dipping, folks. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And it's more than just whispering a few words and choosing different crystals. Now, so these are highly unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably only you can make these. Other people could make their own kind of candle, but it's never
Mm-hmm.
going to be the same, because when we do energy work, that energy is what comes. Just like we're crystalline beings, Saturn rules crystallization of structure, and human beings have a bunch of crystals in us. So when energy comes through us, that's our signature frequency, right? And then we align with certain other frequencies and can form a choir, or we get in fights because those don't align.
Correct.
So your candles are just absolutely powerful and stunning. And I have been so blessed to be part of your journey. And I want to know more. So when you say crystal grid, so you're taking the essence of a crystal grid and packing it in, or what?
Correct. So my candles, they're live active generating crystal grids. I'll give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. So when I dip the candles, which is basically dipping, I dip the bases, which is just the base.
Mm-hmm.
I take that raw beeswax
Mm-hmm.
and I in the vat of wax melter I have, I dip the bases for all my spell candles. I then
Mm-hmm.
put that powder in the wax melter, and as I'm
Mm-hmm.
stirring that wax melter is heating, it's reading the energies of the crystals into the raw beeswax to create the bases. And also, every time I dip, I stir it first, so those crystal particles are being dipped in every single layer. So every single
Nice.
candle dip, if you literally take a cross section, to show you here, this is the inside of my this is the inside of my a cross section
Oh,
um,
that's cool.
of my communication on block. So these
Mm-hmm.
actual crystal grid fused together with beeswax.
That's cool.
So every single
Mm-hmm.
so basically a crystal grid dipped on hyperimposed onto a crystal grid, making it more and more powerful. Every single dip is an intensified intention of what I'm doing in my creation process, my candles, my magic to help people facilitate change. And
Yeah.
so that being said, the base is just liquid beeswax attached to powder white and clear crystals. Now, I have a multitude of different colored spell candles. This pink one
Mm-hmm.
is my Love Unbound.
Yes, I love that
How I
as well.
create this beeswax. So I should get back. Sorry, let me 1 second. I need to ground Black
Mm-hmm.
Obsidian. I'm really excited and happy to be here. So I just need like
No, it's okay. Hey, you're
one.
enthusiastic. There's nothing wrong with being enthusiastic. I do the same thing when I'm excited. I get like half a word out, until I try to form the next sentence. So it's okay. Um,
There
so
we go.
with the colored wax, you actually collect plants to make the dye, right? You're not using synthetic dyes. You're not
No, gosh,
using.
no.
So let's talk about that.
Got you. So so there are no essential oils in the
Mm-hmm.
candles I make. There are no dyes put into the candles. There's
Mm-hmm.
no preservatives, no petrols, no nothing. What creates the different colors is I crush like colored crystals. For example,
Mm-hmm.
non-grounded, my Love Unbound candle, I crush
Mm-hmm.
pink crystals that have the energetic and magical properties of different aspects of love. I
Mm-hmm.
also crush pink plant botanicals that have
Mm-hmm.
similar and complementary energetic and magical properties and features of love. I take those
Mm-hmm.
pink crystals and pink plant botanical particles and I infuse them into the different vats of the raw beeswax, and that energy is basically the pigment is extracted by the heat as well as just the
Mm-hmm.
physical structure of the crystals and the plants,
Mm-hmm.
but also the
Mm-hmm.
scent comes from the plant botanicals because literally
It's
to take like
stunning too.
yeah
Yeah.
like it takes for to make a single vat of my black protection clear and grounding magic beeswax, which is black
Mm-hmm.
crystals, black plant botanicals that have the energetic magic properties
Mm-hmm.
of grounding and all that stuff. It takes
Mm-hmm.
about 2.5 months to make one wax melter batch because I had to
Wow.
first acquire the crystals, acquire the plant
Mm-hmm.
botanicals, then crush
Mm-hmm.
them into dust, which
Mm-hmm.
takes time because you
Mm-hmm.
do it fine powder, and then I have
Mm-hmm.
to have them in the wax into the raw beeswax and have that time
Mm-hmm.
pass, have the botanical sense literally
Mm-hmm.
extracted, and also have the energies maturing and
Mm-hmm.
creating the energetic effect.
And
Um,
you don't just like order a bunch of plants from some online store. You go out and collect the stuff.
yeah, I
Yeah.
collect them. I'll show you an example
Mm-hmm.
actually. So this here,
Mm-hmm.
this is a soul extraction of basically what this is. I extracted the soul and energetic and magical properties as well as the
Mm-hmm.
botanical from hand forged yellow roses. This is all
Mm-hmm.
pure yellow rose.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the purest of the deepest of red rose.
Oh, beautiful.
And this one is actually, I haven't shown you this, Lori. This is the newest one that I've been harvesting. Purple hibiscus.
Oh, gorgeous. That is such a deep, deep purple. Oh, wow. Very
And
gorgeous.
that's the plant pulp right there.
Right, right. Beautiful.
I'll
I
show you
love that.
something cool. So
So
this
we call Seth's candle area that where he makes his candles the magic lab. And
totally.
he is a true there isn't a I know a lot of magical people, but you're one of my favorites because we can do our mad laboratory talk,
Absolutely. I am
right?
Dexter. I just have contacts right now. But look
Didi.
at this just for fun.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's beautiful. And now tonight you were out collecting before we started recording. Um,
Yes. Tiger
what were
lily
you out?
pollen.
Tiger lily pollen. Now what's that one? What's that going into?
So I'm gonna be using the tiger lily pollen. Well, for different things. For example, I'm harvesting different colored tiger lily pollen. Just like with the
Mm-hmm.
different colored roses have different energetic magical
Mm-hmm.
properties, I'm doing the
Yep.
same thing with tiger lilies. So
Mm-hmm.
purple tiger lily pollen is going to be for I'm going to be using that for spiritual protection and also
Mm-hmm.
removing entities from individuals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Red and
So
orange. Sorry. Yes.
right. Right. So for people listening, when Seth's talking about entities, thoughts, repeated thoughts can be an entity. It's not always like what Hollywood makes it out to be. And that can include curses too, just overthinking and repetition of certain thoughts like I'm no good, I'm not anything. And then
You're
you match
manifesting
up with
reality.
somebody. Yeah, you're manifesting your reality. So this is a way to help accelerate clearing, and to help break the mental habits that are not useful for you. Um, I use Seth's candles a lot. I have often been Seth's best customer. Not kidding.
No
And
complaints.
granted, I get gifted Seth's candles too, which is really
Oh,
awesome.
someone's birthday is
But
technically today. Got
right
you.
in the future, right? Because you're in the future. I'm a past person. Um, so now you have really great descriptions up on your website, and that is, what's your website again?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, cherry popper. My website is www.auric
Mm-hmm.
is that with this crystal grid on the table, gravity holds that crystal grid together. With this crystal
Yeah.
grid, the beeswax holds it together. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The energy of that candle. This is the packaging for
Mm-hmm.
my Protect Your Heart mini. So in
Mm-hmm.
all the packaging, it's all biodegradable packaging.
It
It's
is, yeah.
just parchment paper and hemp, and there's a little loop here. You can hang this
Mm-hmm.
candle wherever you want. And the
Mm-hmm.
cool thing that I like to do is I'm through my own personal experience of being a magical practitioner and my own life's experiences, I've come to the understanding that the more of a connection that you have to your tools, the deeper the connection you have to your energetic and magical tools, the more power, the more energy you are able to receive from that. So
Absolutely.
I like to, before I burn my candles for myself, depending on certain things, I like to hang them above my bed. Because when we're
I love
sleeping,
that.
we are most receptive. Because our
Mm.
moving, our daily mind, that mind chatter, all that's just out at night sleeping. So by having
Right.
the candle above your bed, you're connecting with the candle and the energy of the candle because of the black obsidian arrow and the energetic flow is going downward and out throughout your room. You're just being with that energy.
I
And
love
it's all
that.
about, vibrational resonance. When you are
Absolutely.
guided to burn the candle, when the time is right, you will know that intuitive
Absolutely.
feeling that's inside you was like, yeah, it's time. And
It is. Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
I love
It
it.
is cool. And true story. So you've got the money and abundance candle,
Yes.
right? So back in 2020, it was the end of 2020. I was just on TikTok and I just wanted to go live. That was it. I just wanted to get to 1,000 followers to go
Hmm.
live. That, remember?
Right? Mm-hmm.
And
Crazy.
it wasn't about making money. It was, I just wanted to go live, right? And you were like, burn that candle. You still have that candle. And I was like, I do have that candle. And, and I lit the candle and it burned really, beautifully. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like at 5,000 followers overnight. And I don't even remember which video did it. It just like, boom, it took off. And I was like, okay, Seth, that was cool. Let's do this again. All right.
Happy to
Because
be a
we can get
service.
in our own way, right? Depending on your training and depending, like, even though, again, we can be awakened, but we also then will run into mentors. And on my path, I found mentors who came from traditions where we were not out in public about what we did. So there's a lot of things where I've been initiated into trainings. We don't talk about it. So for me to be very public, I was breaking lots of rules to now be talking about things. It's one of the reasons I give more mundane predictions of political weather, although that's changing. When I use your candles, that helps me kind of undo some of that protective packaging that those agreements I had made served. And that served a purpose in the past. It doesn't serve a purpose anymore, right? So some of us who maybe need to be a little more vocal, sometimes unlocking that voice can help a little bit. Yeah, and I can feel people resonating with that.
Definitely.
So yeah, you don't have to just get it and burn it, guys. You can keep it. Now, um yeah. So what's your favorite thing about them? Oh, you're going to burn it now. I'm going to be high as a kite after you
You
doing this. Thank you. So we don't have to be in physical proximity if you learn how to attune. Seth and I do quite a bit of magical work together in the distance. I'm on the West Coast, he's on the East Coast. When my father was not well, and was kind of on death's door, I asked Seth to form a grid so I could do some energy work. By the way, I wasn't trying to save my father and I wasn't trying to help him go. It was a clearing of energy process. It was rather successful. It was kind of funny, the outcome. My dad thought he saw God because the woman kept giving him a hug and saying, "It's okay, you're loved," and that was me. So I'm God.
pretty
My dad
much.
is convinced God is a woman. I was like, I did not tell my parents what we were doing, and I was just like, okay, all right, that was good, that worked. That's beautiful. So now, what are we burning here?
Got you. This is one of my favorite candles to burn. Has helped me so much in my own heart's development. This is my Protect Your Heart hand dipped crystal
Mm-hmm.
grade beeswax magic spell candle. This candle assists in the blocking, releasing, acknowledging, the blocking, healing, releasing, and acknowledging of emotional negativity and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Internal emotional negativity, the
Mm-hmm.
sometimes nasty, stinky thoughts that we have to ourselves because of
Mm-hmm.
negative traumatic experiences from the past that have not
Mm-hmm.
been energetically and physically and all that stuff taken care of, that just leads through to the present, as well
Mm-hmm.
as external emotional negativity, nasty, mean people. You feel my drift. And
Mm-hmm.
I love this. Of all my candles, of all of the ones that I make, I have a line of 13 of them so far. Protect Your Heart candle came through and channeled message to myself from myself for this
Mm-hmm.
one to help me remove the blocks and chains and all
Mm-hmm.
these things that are preventing me from shining and sharing, doing what I
Mm-hmm.
love, helping
Mm-hmm.
people. I need
Mm-hmm.
goosebumps right now. It's hot as freaking my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But it yeah, that this one has allowed me to love myself, to allow me to be able to be nice to myself and just honor my
Yeah,
heart's desires and feelings.
I
And
love that.
here's the thing. With magic and crystal healing and candle magic and all that stuff, and just throughout the process, it's never really a one and done thing,
No.
because it's an act of creation process. It's an act of healing
Mm-hmm.
process. It's an act of dismantling process. And the cool thing
Mm-hmm.
that I've come to understand, which I'm very thankful for, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
is that the amount of healing, the amount of expansion, the amount of things that you can create is infinite.
Yeah.
So, you could be in a really messed up, horrible place, but
Mm-hmm.
if you have the understanding and direction and will, each day can be a little bit better, a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes, we have, days where you have two steps back, and so, that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But it can get a little bit better until at some point you go from being under the ground and you reach that threshold where instead of
Mm-hmm.
you're at minus 3,000, you're at zero.
Right.
And then when you
That's a
just pop
great
out with the
space.
feeling,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it just gets better and better and better. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my baby right here. I love hugging these candles, especially because it's all about the heart. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's why I'm burning this one, to
Mm-hmm.
just send the energy outward. Also, with my
Yeah.
candles and my magic in general, crystal healing candles, all that stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's for those that are receptive to receive.
Absolutely.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm lighting this candle. There's no need to be like, I do not accept this, because you're not going to accept it if you're not receptive to it. It's not going to
Right.
like go through the screen and like splat at you.
Right.
I'm all
Exactly.
about
Yeah.
those. I'm all about those positive boundaries of
Mm-hmm.
respect.
Mm-hmm.
You
Exactly. You're
know,
not going to throw healing at somebody
no,
unsuspectingly. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
just respects the energy in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good
Exactly.
stuff on 'em.
Absolutely. So again, you guys can find Seth on TikTok, Instagram, his website, and YouTube. And I'll have
Definitely.
all those links in the show notes. And you want to be on Seth's mailing list because he sends out little discount codes, and Christmas is coming. You'll want to treat yourself. And again, when you're supporting Seth, you're not supporting a major corporation or somebody who's done some spiritual watching. You know, a lot of the brands that you see out there are owned by bigger companies that are owned by bigger companies, and there's a lot of, they might say it's all natural, but it isn't necessarily ethical. Fair trade isn't always fair, things like that. With Seth, it is, you know, it's coming from him. And again, one of the most beautiful hearts on the planet, a very, very dear friend of mine. And we bat on the same team here, making this world just a little bit better every day that we can. And like all spiritual practitioners, he's had a hell of a walk. None of us who teach or practice, you know, you might think when you start, you know, learning about energy and magic that, oh, my life's going to get easier.
Yeah.
Don't choke on your soda.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily get easier. It gets more beautiful. It gets deeper. It evens out and it gets better. But sometimes
Definitely.
it gets messy. And having support through the right community like we have in our Patreon, and there's more coming, guys. You're about to, the genie's about to get unleashed out of the bottle in the Awake Space. I know I've been promising, but it was down to timing, and
Divine.
I figured out that timing. So it's all about that. So you can find Seth's candles at the links in the description on YouTube and on Spotify. Make sure you read the show notes. And you can follow him on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else. Seth, you are such a joy. Thank you for being with us. And
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
it's my
See
pleasure
you.
having you. Mwah! All
Good to
right.
see you. I love you.
Love you too. Bye bye, honey.
Bye.
Oh, I just love Seth. It's always good to communicate with him. He is just a very special person in my life. And if you knew the whole of his story, which maybe we'll talk about another time, then you'd know just how magical a person Seth is. I ordered a bunch of candles from him, and he's also sending me some for my birthday, but that's because I'm his friend. Yes, I had a very good birthday. Very, very good. In fact, I went to San Juan Capistrano. That wasn't on the agenda. It just kind of happened, and it was a very magical day indeed. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I had a beautiful peak experience. I was talking to patrons about that on the Crunch Report when I was 14 and was very embattled in life. I ended up going there on a family trip that was very contentious and had some trauma with it. And yet I experienced that peace that we often seek and find elusive. And I found that there at 14. And sometimes there's places where human beings go and there's just this collective energy that builds. Sometimes we feel that in uneasy ways. You go to a battlefield or even in a haunted house, there's been enough fear and worry and doubt, and you can feel it. But when there's a place where people come in reverence, that builds thought forms as well. And it's just a very contemplative space. It's a very reverential space. It's an old mission, but the gardens are beautifully tended by volunteers. It's a very treasured space by the community. And I can't tell you why I align so beautifully. I have some theories as to why. Maybe I had a past life connection. Maybe I just aligned to the energy there. But every time I go, it's a beautiful reminder of when a very, very stressed out and traumatized 14-year-old had a peak experience of being completely engulfed by peace. Something I hadn't experienced since I was very, very small. And it was a touchstone throughout my life. So it was just a beautiful happenstance that we ended up there that day. So the first question I am answering is from one of our patrons. Let me get the name. This is Gossamer Goings. Gossamer Goings is asking, is transit Pluto, this is Pluto, is transit Pluto opposite your natal sun as a transit something to be concerned about? I'm currently going through that transit right now. And I can tell you, no, it is not something to be concerned about. Pluto is the great alchemist. Notice it's almost like the laboratory. Pluto isn't the destroyer. It's forced evolution. And we do have to change. And the sun is not your personality. And when people say it's your core essence, what it is, it's your energy levels. It's your animating force. So it's that spark of life within us. And when Pluto is opposite that, it's time to reform. It's time to change, transform, evolve how we spend our energy. And if we've been overspending without rest, if we've not allowed our spark of life to be fed its fuel, maybe we haven't eaten properly, maybe we haven't given our body enough rest or exercise, if we have not allowed ourselves to be tended and nurtured as much as we nurture and tend, we will feel it. It isn't Pluto that's causing the discomfort. It is our resistance to releasing the habits that we have built over a lifetime, and that could be social cultural programming too, that is uncomfortable. That's the issue with Pluto transits. And yeah, we joke about Pluto being a jerk, right? Oh, that damn Pluto. But the truth of the matter is the discomfort, yeah, that's coming from us resisting the changes we need to make. It's that simple. And it can seem so life and death at the time. And it depends on how old you are. The older you are with these, it's more philosophical. It can have a physical aspect, but it's still more philosophical. When I was a young woman and Pluto was in my first house and it was going over my Neptune, trining my sun, life was very different. I also had Saturn moving through there as well. It was not an easy transit because everything I thought that made me a good person, a successful person, a virtuous person, went away. My marriage, that I loved him, but it didn't matter how much I loved him. My idea of what it meant to have a marriage that failed, those were all social cultural programs. And it hurt as these things were seemingly ripped away. But they weren't healthy. And they weren't serving anybody. Not him, not me. Now, the more I came to understand Pluto transits, because it was that transit I was just talking about that, funny enough, landed me into astrology. After I began to understand that sometimes you just have to let things go and find out. It's like a trust fall with the universe. The things that serve us, the things that are part of our future path, they remain. It isn't a judgment on who you are or your worthiness or what it means about you as a person. It's literally about what serves you on this path, in this lifetime, in this body. And so when I say we need to train our minds and train our Mercuries to really think a little more logically, and that doesn't mean socially correct, right? It was me socially conforming that was causing the problems for myself. At this stage, with Pluto in opposition to the Sun, it's understanding that sometimes we have to rest. Sometimes we need to slow it down. It depends on the house that your Sun is in and Pluto is in as well. You know, if your Sun is in the 7th house and Pluto is in the 1st house, then you're reshaping how you spend your energy in agreement with other. That could be with best friends, business partners, with contract jobs, anything where you sign your name on the dotted line or make a verbal agreement, an ironclad contract. If it's 2nd house, you can power up and build an empire, but you also need to find support. You don't have to grind all the time. You need a better system in play. And maybe you're more attached to what you have than who you are at a core level. And you might be having some pretty metaphysical experiences. If you have Pluto in the 3rd house and your Sun in the 9th, you're having to let go of some ideas about who you are and how you show up. You have to accept your expertise. And you have to stop spreading your energy like a shotgun out into the world and maybe laser focus it a little more to who will hear what you have to say. If you have Pluto in the 4th house and your Sun in the 10th, doesn't mean you have to lose your career, but it might be that you want to refocus. You don't have to throw everything away. But if you've been carrying the burden for everyone else, if you've been leading the team and left out in the cold, well, it's time to reshape the structures from which you lead. You know, if you've got a fortress and your army is outside, there's no one to tend you, right? So you've got to include yourself in the circle. Right? You make sure you're tended as much as you're in making sure everything else is taken care of. If Pluto's in the 5th house and your Sun is in the 11th, then it's time you stopped being the person who led the group project and let yourself find the right collaborators. Just because you got stuck with it all at one time or another doesn't mean that you have to get stuck with it all by yourself. It's a really good time to build your network and let go of the connections that drain you. You might know all the reasons why these people are, tugging at your skirts all the time. They might have needs, but so do you. And you can't give from an empty cup, and it will be very apparent with this transit. If you have Pluto in the 6th house and your Sun in the 12th, this might be a very interesting time for you. You might have some changes in your workspace, and you might need a chance to rest more. Or maybe you need to find some new rituals or new processes that help you connect with yourself and your guidance. Maybe not being quite as attached to your workaday life doesn't mean you have to lose your job at all. In fact, you could find yourself promoted or in charge or even finding a much better team to work with. But you can't hold on to the past and be mired in the past. You got to move towards the future. So sometimes you have to let go of things. If Pluto's in the 7th house and your Sun is in the 1st house, this is another reworking of agreements. Sometimes people need more than you're wanting to give. And you have to find some mutuality out in the world. And if Pluto's moving through that 7th house, it will get rid of the contracts that are not mutual. Anything that's draining your life force energy. You'll feel the difference when things go away. It's not a judgment about who you are or whether you've passed or failed. If Pluto's in the 8th house and your sun is in the 2nd, it's time for you to put your energy into growing you and supporting you. Maybe you'll start a business, or maybe you'll find a different job, but you have to understand your worth and your value. And you may have put emphasis on your earning power or what you had, or maybe you grew up insecure. Maybe there were financial struggles growing up. Or maybe you were trained to believe there was only one way to show your value. And Pluto in Capricorn is showing you there are so many ways to do it. And you don't have to just be the supporter. You can be supported and held. If you have Pluto in the 9th house opposing the sun in the 3rd, it's time to stop needing to be right and open your mind to learning. Maybe you've always thought certain things a certain way, or maybe you worked through things a certain way and you are being challenged to think different right now. Your old accomplishments, your old goals, they're probably all being reworked and you're starting to look at things differently now. You might have changed your opinions on things and you might feel very unsettled by this. Or maybe just the truth stands revealed as some of the compromises you've made in life start falling away. But it's time to be the learner. If Pluto is in your 10th house and the sun is in your 4th in your natal chart, then you may be needing to rework how you run your household. You may need to force yourself to find a new comfort zone. Things are changing in the world and your old habits do not serve the present moment. So it's ensuring that you find a new way to make yourself secure. You might be changing how you do things with your family or how you communicate with your family. You may just change how you live your life in your home. You might get some very different things going on in your physical house. Maybe you're moving from the electrical grid to solar panels. Maybe you're choosing to move to another town. You might want to switch up the career, or maybe you're moving into your actual calling, the thing you always wanted to do when you were a kid, but maybe you took the safe route and allowed your family to have a little input about your life that doesn't serve you anymore. You're not betraying them by choosing your own happiness. If Pluto is transiting the 11th and your sun is in the 5th, if you haven't allowed yourself to have fun and be creative, if you haven't allowed yourself to be fully expressive, if you've leaned a little more into the group and what's popular and trendy, and you haven't really let yourself be expressive, or if you haven't let yourself build any hobbies or interests because you were just so damn busy working, it's important to carve out some time to do things that enliven you, to fill your cup, to express yourself. Take a risk. Go do a karaoke night. Bake some bread. Risk something not quite working out and feel the rush of the risk. Doesn't mean jump off a building. And if Pluto's opposite your sun right now, you're a Cancer, and that's not very likely. Not that Cancers don't do things, but odds are you probably would rather sing karaoke than jump out of an airplane. If Pluto's in your 12th house and your natal sun is in your 6th, you probably work too much. You probably work too hard. And it's time to attend and nurture your body. It's time to attend to yourself so you're not wearing yourself out and overcommitting and making sure everybody else is okay. It's time to be served as much as you are serving. And you're probably also having metaphysical experiences. If you're having gut issues or stomach issues, the stress needs to be reworked. You have to change your daily grind and make life work more for you. Are you living or are you making a living? Because we don't really make a living. We merely live. So that's the Pluto transit. I'll do one more question because that was a little bit of a long answer, but I think that will help people understand that transit if you have it coming up or been through it in the past. Let's see. Mm-hmm. So this is a question from Alyssa. Can you please talk about knowing the difference between intuition and anxiety, trauma-based fear? Absolutely. So first of all, if you suffered trauma, and many of us have, if you have suffered trauma, you probably do have heightened intuition because reading the room, using your tendrils to feel things out, that was necessity. That was part of how you survived things, right? It is every single human being, whether they've gone through trauma or not, has intuition. What we use or call our spidey senses, where we're sensing for danger, is our instinct. Okay, and that's more of our moon. Okay, that's our instinct. It's our animal nature. Animals and humans, we all have instinct because humans are animals. We are part of the animal kingdom. We are not different. That's hubris. We're monkeys in suits. Okay? So we have instinct, and part of that instinctual nature is to have a heightened awareness. Okay? Intuition does not produce emotion. It just is a fleeting thought or an awareness or just an impulse. There is no feeling to it. You may have a feeling after, but you don't have a feeling during. Okay. You might get a rush of energy with intuition, like, oh, like that. Just like, but the rush of energy happens after the fleeting thought. Okay. So anxiety and intuition, they actually can't work together at the same time. But your instinct and anxiety can. And that's a lot like that tuner I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast. And you might want to go back and listen to that part just for a way to bring it down. Intuition is quiet, it's not loud. Intuition is a gentle knowing. It's gentle, it's clear, it's clarity, it's understanding, it's knowing, it's peace, it's love, it's acceptance, it's joy. But it's not worry, doubt, fear. That gut feeling of, oh, I need to stock up on pasta, that's your instinct. And there is a time to listen to both. But there's a difference between the, oh no, grain prices are rising, go get pasta. I knew it was rising. I knew it. That's instinct. Intuition is you're at the store and your eye is drawn to the pasta aisle and you're like, oh, I should get some of that. Yeah. Oh, look at that. The price raised. Right. That's the difference. And I hope that answer helped you. So be ready for more metaphysics combined with astrology, because to me, it's not enough to know what the astrology is. You got to know how to work through it. We are all magical beings. Each one of you has your own special brand of magic. And to get down to the center point of that, we have to deconstruct and unpack the social cultural conditioning. We all have to. And it's a continuing process. We're never done. We're always in the alchemy lab, every single one of us. I'm All right, I'm Laurie Rivers, and I want to thank you for listening to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. And next week, we are talking about the astrology of August, and it is a doozy. So practice your grounding.